testified about the incident that occurred August 5th of 2024. The woman's father expressed gratitude for the case's progress, and he hoped it would encourage others to speak up. The judge found sufficient evidence for the case to move forward to a grand jury in February. Roanoke police need your help in finding a missing 16-year-old boy. His name, Preston Thomas Young. He was last seen at the Vinton Library January 16th. Preston is 5'6". He weighs about 100 pounds, has red hair and hazel eyes. And he was wearing a black t-shirt, black puff jacket, gray sweatpants, and black Nike shoes. Anyone with information should contact the Roanoke Police. The Amherst County Board of Supervisors supports a bill that would provide law enforcement officers with due process when accused via a Brady letter. Former Lieutenant Lewis Goldman received such a letter after an incident involving a prominent local figure, which he disputes. State Senator Russet Perry sponsors the bill to allow officers to view and contest evidence used against them in these cases. The proposed bill is currently under review by the Senate's Court of Justice Committee, but has not yet been discussed. From the Virginia Talk Radio Network, I'm Bill Trefiro.
This is Boomer Esiason with the Sports Minute, sponsored by Fisher Investments. Today's birthday shout-out goes to Caitlin Clark. The 23-year-old WNBA All-Star and Taylor Swift's fellow Chiefs superfan is sitting out the inaugural season of the Women's Pro 3-on-3 League called Unrivaled. And if the opening weekend's disappointing TV ratings are any indication, the new league desperately could use Clark's incredible star power. I'm Boomer Esiason.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Good morning. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
Wednesday, January 22nd, 7:03 a.m. Good morning. Welcome to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That's Ty Tracy. Last night, Virginia gets a win, a much-needed win over Boston College in dominant fashion at JPJ, 74-56. And I can say this for sure. Miami and Boston College are probably the two worst teams in the ACC. Boston College falls to 1-7 in conference. Virginia 22-6 in conference. They won 74-56. A little later on the show, we'll have Bryson Gordon join us. They of course have only one game this week on the hardwood. Both men and women play FIU, their travel partner, on Saturday. Virginia Tech plays tonight. Game you can listen to right here on VTRN Sports. 6:30 airtime as the Hokies take on the Yellow Jackets, looking to bounce back after that tough loss to Wake. But, Wake looks like a really good team. They just defeated Carolina last night. So that is a little bit of an update of your college hoops. We'll have Bryson join us later on about 7:40. We'll talk more Liberty Flames there. We'll also talk the Hall of Fame was announced, and do want to mention that Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki. Billy Wagner, of course, a native of Virginia. So local ties with that. Also want to talk the NFL playoffs. Obviously, Washington Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles, NFC Championship game. 2:00 coverage starts right here across VTR and Sports. We're actually blowing it out with a megacast, so you can listen to that across the entire Virginia Talk radio network. That includes 100.9 WIQO, WVLT, and WMNA Gretna. So across our entire listening, at least the talk part of our entire listening area, you can listen to the big game between the Commanders and the Eagles, and then obviously Bills Chiefs in that one. But Ty, let's get into this game for Virginia. A pretty nice win for them. I think the fact that they just kind of they shoot the ball well. They shot 55% from three. You're going to win a lot of games, especially the way Virginia plays. They win the rebounding battle. They win the turnover battle. This was a game where you're playing probably one of the few inferior opponents you're going to play in the conference, and they seem to handle it well.
Yeah, they did. I think they came out strong on both. I said both sides, both quarters and everything. Like you said, they was good. They was efficient on the rebounding. I think created 15 turnovers and stuff. So I feel like they had a great game, especially on the defense side of the ball. The only thing is that they had 11 turnovers. That's still not good, but they still managed to pick it up and be important. Not be important. They pick it up and still get the win and everything. Even though Boston College is not a good basketball team, but either way, they still took advantage of it.
Yeah, I felt like a game where they could get corrected. They win 74-56. As mentioned, they cover the 8.5-point spread, so credit to them. And they dominated
active
throughout.
They was active on defense, again, creating 10 steals. I'll say that.
Yeah, 15 turnovers in that one for Boston College. They were up 41-23 at half and then go on to win 74-56. Good win for Virginia. I know we're saying Boston College, but this was a team that lost 5 straight, and you can question, would they still show fight? Well, they did, and they got the win, and that feels good because there's a team that we've mentioned a couple times in Miami that has clearly just given up on the season. So easily Virginia could head that way. They don't, and it feels good. If you're a Virginia fan that's like, this season is probably not going how you wanted, given everything. You want to include the Tony Bennett retirement in it, and the fact that McNeely hits 6 threes, you end your 5-game losing streak, and now you're hosting Notre Dame in another game where you could win, and then you take on Miami. Those are 3 of the worst teams in the conference.
And
like
you can finish the month of January strong too with that 3-game win streak.
Yeah, it's just any sort of momentum would be big for Virginia at this point, because you're probably facing the easiest part of your schedule the rest of the way with Boston College, Notre Dame, Miami, Virginia Tech, because then it gets picked back up with Pitt at Virginia Tech, or Pitt, Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech, and then Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest, Clemson, 3 of the best teams in the conference. Other scores from last night of note, as mentioned, Wake gets the win over North Carolina 67-66, and Louisville beats SMU 98-73. Those are the only games in conference last night. UConn defeated Butler 80-78 in overtime. Just wanted to mention that game because Danny Hurley yelled at a ref. He said, don't you turn your back to me. I'm the best blanking coach in the country. And I just had to quote tweet that and say, he's not wrong, as the 2-time defending national champion. Ty, I really wanted to look ahead to the NFL and the playoffs. Obviously, conference championship weekend is this weekend. We have Washington and Philadelphia. We have Kansas City and Detroit, Kansas City and Buffalo. I'm blanking on team names right now. But before that, I think it's time to talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm going a little all over the place today. That's okay. It's the morning.
My man, Big CC Sabathia. That was like my favorite player watching too.
So, as a Yankees fan, I love CC. I mean, there was no better big game pitcher than CC Sabathia. This is a man who won 20 games, who had 3,000 strikeouts, who also was an ALCS MVP, won a World Series with the Yankees. Like, I think he went like 11-1 when he got traded to Milwaukee and they made the playoffs. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and deservingly so. But I hate the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, I actually hate it because I think it's dumb. I think the fact that egos get in the way of some of the elite players in the history of the sport not getting in because they use steroids as an excuse. You can't count Pete Rose because Pete Rose is technically banned by baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they can vote Pete Rose in.
Yeah.
You know, I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, Bonds and Clements are not in the Hall of Fame, and A-Rod are not in the Hall of Fame because they did steroids. It's because there's enough baseball writers that don't like them as people, and they're not in. It's why T.O. was not a first ballot football Hall of Famer. It's stupid. I think and I hate bringing this up every year with the Baseball Hall of Fame because the three entrants were Ichiro Suzuki, who is the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. He has the most hits between his Japanese career and his professional career. I mean, Ichiro came in, won MVP and Rookie of the Year in his first year on a 116-win team. Like, people talk about Jaden Daniels having the greatest rookie season in sports. I think Ichiro is in that conversation. They just didn't have the postseason success. Then CC and Billy Wagner all met the threshold of 75%. Well, Carlos Beltran got to 70%. Former Brave Andrew Jones got to 66.2%. That was really the only ones that were close. Notable names: A-Rod at 37.1%, Manny Ramirez at 34.3%. Those are both steroid. Andy Pettit at 27.9%. Those are all steroid guys. Virginia native David Wright 8.1%. Throw that in there as well.
I mean, I understand. Like, we just can't throw in like, oh, he did steroids. Like, come on.
So
now.
we'll have that discussion in a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about the players that got in. So Ichiro got, again, this is stupid. Again, Ichiro got 393 of the 394 votes, meaning he was tied with Derek Jeter for the percentage because Derek Jeter got 396 of 397. That one person that didn't vote Ichiro in should not be able to vote for the Hall of Fame. Like, he should be unanimous. There should be more unanimous other than Mariano Rivera. Rivera deserves to be a unanimous Hall of Famer because he's the greatest closer in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
But, like, Ichiro is like the Michael Jordan of Japan.
Yeah.
Like, if Ohtani's LeBron, Ichiro's look at the reverence that Ohtani, who's the best player in the sport, has towards Ichiro. And this was a guy who changed baseball in a country. He had over 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball, and then he also had 1,278 hits in Japan, meaning he had more overall hits than Pete Rose. So he also didn't debut in baseball till he was 27, and he still had 3,089 hits. Like, he is one of the greatest hitters in the history of baseball, maybe the greatest hitter in the history of baseball, and he doesn't get unanimous. Like, there are a few players that I deserve to still be unanimous, and Ichiro is in that category.
I just feel like sometimes, like, the voters get so disrespectful to, like, the players who gave everything they had to the game of baseball, and they don't deserve the respect they should. And that's what, like, it makes me mad to the day. Like, we don't, like, we get like some voters that will respect people like, oh my God, they did this. Like, that don't mean nothing. Like, look what he did to the game. Like, he dominated the field. Like, what you want him to do? Like, be perfect? Like, nobody's not perfect, but like, he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he hit 301 or 311 in his career with 500 stolen bases. It also, his impact on the game. Like, you look at Yu Darvish, great baseball player. Look at Shohei Ohtani, the best baseball player in the world. They have such reverence. It really is created their path because of Ichiro, we get a Shohei Ohtani. It's that kind of simple. So, ironically, Sabathia finished second to Ichiro in 2001 for AL Rookie of the Year, and they were teammates on the Yankees, so they're tied together. There was no better big game pitcher than CC Sabathia. He was the 19th member of one of the 19 members of the 3,000 strike club, 3,093 strikeouts. He was truly one of the last truly like, I'm going 9 innings. Like he said in an interview, he's like, the only guy I would give the ball to is Mariano if he was pitching. And he's like, because that's Mariano Rivera. And I respect that. So he, of course, will go down as a Yankee. But I think the coolest one for locals is Billy Wagner. This was a Virginia guy in Billy Wagner. He was born in Marion, Virginia. He went to Tazewell High School. He went to Ferrum College. He's of course, I think he currently coaches in Crozet, Virginia. So it's pretty cool to see. This local guy and Billy Wagner, who was a pitcher. He of course most notably with the Houston Astros, 7-time All-Star. He was part of a combined no-hitter. He's in the Astros Hall of Fame, and he was one of the best closers in baseball, amassing 422 saves, 1,196 strikeouts, and a 2.31 ERA. But it's always cool to see these local guys get it. So, he's going in the Hall of Fame, but Marion, Virginia, not too far from here, a couple hours, but went to Tazewell High School in Southwest Virginia, but not South Space West. But he also went, of course, to Ferrum College, where he both played baseball and football. So that's pretty interesting. His son played for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is cool. But he, I think, is so he's the baseball coach at the Miller School in Albemarle, so right down the road. So that's local guy, and he gets into the Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, definitely a local guy who really has not been talked about like that, but now he's finally.
This was his last chance, so you have 10 years on the ballot, and so this was his last chance, and you typically get a bump on your last chance because baseball writers are weird.
And he deserved it. I mean, I don't know why it took that long for him to get in.
Because baseball writers are dumb. Barry Bonds is in the argument for the greatest baseball player ever, and you can take. I'm of the belief in this conversation always gets brought up with the Hall of Fame about should you get the steroid guys in. Well, baseball allowed that to happen. It's not like baseball was enforcing it, and baseball allowed the steroid era to happen. And no offense, the most popular time in baseball was the steroid era, was with McGwire and Sosa. And I look at Bonds in particular.
I mean, they dominate the sport. I mean, why?
Here's my argument with Barry Bonds. If you took out his years with the steroids, which essentially is his Giants years, he is still a Hall of Fame player. Like he's still people forget how good Barry Bonds was before the Giants. Like when he was with the Pirates, he won 7 MVPs. He is the all-time home runs leader. Like another thing about this, yes, you can take steroids, and everyone did it in baseball. Not everyone, but a lot of people did it in baseball that time they allowed it. But that doesn't mean you can hit the ball. Like that's still a skill. I've said this before. Trey Lyle could take as many steroids as he wants, look jacked, and get. I'm not hitting a 99 mile per hour fastball 400 feet. I'm just telling you right now. Like, it's just dumb. And, but shout out, all three deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
I just wish they would change up the office one day, just the voters and everything.
I could go on and on about Rob Manfred. I know there are certain people, maybe if you're listening to a WIQO, that talk about inadequate leadership on either side of the aisle.
Mhm.
Well, the most inadequate leadership in this country resides in Major League Baseball's office with Rob Manfred. So it's dumb. It's dumb that Barry Bonds will not be in the Hall of Fame unless something changes. It's dumb that Pete Rose will not be in the Hall of Fame. It's dumb that McGuire and Sosa will not be in the Hall of Fame. It's dumb that Roger Clemens will not be in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's dumb A-Rod will not be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm a Yankees fan that hates A-Rod. Like, I did not like A-Rod when he was a Yankee. Like, but it's not fair. It's unfair to say he's not one of the best players that has played the game.
Definitely.
The Baseball Hall of Fame's mission is to tell the history of the sport.
Who dominate the sport and change the game a lot.
The history of the sport. And if you cannot tell me, you cannot tell the history of the sport without a Barry Bonds, without a Mark McGuire, without a Sammy Sosa, without a Roger Clemens, without an Alex Rodriguez. And Alex Rodriguez technically still has time. Just banking on the fact he's not getting in the Hall of Fame. But you cannot tell the history of the sport. If you want to use this logic, I guess Tom Brady, who got, I'm putting air quotes, caught cheating, and Bill Belichick, who got caught cheating, should not be in the Football Hall of Fame. Like, come on. Get out of here with that. That's just dumb. It's dumb. It's a dumb argument.
They just find a way to make sure they don't get in, but they know that they know that they're gonna get in regardless.
And it's just,
trust me, that's how I feel about other about football and everything.
All right. Well, we got to go to break. It's 7:22 this morning. When we come back, how can Left Hand Up get to the Super Bowl? And maybe they'll be performing a concert in New Orleans. We'll talk about that next. NFC Championship, AFC Championship game, early look aheads next here on the morning warm up with Trey Lyle. Hope everyone's having a good morning so far.
Selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Why start anywhere else? It's all in one location at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. And with straightforward pricing and inventory arriving daily, there's no reason to start anywhere else than the Motor Mile. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs, many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Shop over 900 used vehicles in stock now, more than any other dealer in the area. Sheeler owns the finance company, so getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile. With financing options for every budget, you're a valued customer and not just a number on the Motor Mile. The Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com. And we're excited to welcome Honda and Hyundai to the Motor Mile family. Why start anywhere else?
Welcome to the Villas at Oakwood. Our stunning community offers spacious, modern villas with top-of-the-line amenities. Enjoy views of the Peaks of Otter from your patio home. Connect with neighbors at our exclusive clubhouse. Discover your dream home today. Experience the maintenance-free lifestyle you deserve. Visit us just behind Bedford Memorial Hospital. Online at oakwoodvillas.com. Or just contact Robin Lee Sage, 434-238-4477.
Are you already done with winter? At Aquatrek Adventures, we can help you escape. Scuba classes are forming right now. We can have you ready for warm, picture-perfect beaches, clear tropical water, and blue skies in sunny Florida, Cozumel, the Cayman Islands, or even Fiji once you complete your certification. Take that first step. Call Aquatrek Adventures on Mill Lane in Salem and visit our website at aquatrekadventures.com.
Sandstone architecture, melodic music, wonders of the world. They're staples of Egyptian and Mediterranean culture. But you don't have to travel thousands of miles to experience it. Just drive to downtown Cairo. Located in the Grays Mill Center in Forest, downtown Cairo brings you food from the entire Mediterranean. blended with the best Egyptian recipes. This means fresh ingredients cooked on a charcoal grill, staples like $5 heroes, and build your own Mediterranean bowl. Experience the taste of Egyptian and Mediterranean world in your own backyard. Downtown Cairo, Grace Mill Shopping Center in Forest.
This is Mike Golick Jr. Don't miss Gojo and Golick weekdays from 6 to 7 p.m. on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM, 1320 AM Lynchburg, and the VTRN Sports app.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:25 on this Wednesday, January 22nd. Thanks so much for getting up with us. Trey Lyle, Ty, Tracy. First segment, we kind of recapped Virginia's big win over Boston College last night to get things righted. And we talked, I got to do my yearly Hall of Fame rant, got to talk about how Billy Wagner is heading to the Hall of Fame, the Marion, Virginia native who is in Crozet, Virginia currently, as well as first-timers. And
you took your little frustrations out as well. So
I said my baseball rant. That's the first part.
I know. I just want to add that too. On my side, I just want to say it myself. That's why.
Okay. Gotcha. You could tell I was a little upset.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset by it. Yeah. Also, CC Sabathia and Ichiro Suzuki. We talked about them first time at Hall of Famers. Also, let's talk about it. The games you can hear right here on VTRN Sports. We'll be talking about it all week. So, Ty, I want to set it up like this. We can talk about the exact keys. At some point this week, it is Wednesday. We'll give our picks on Friday. Spreads currently, Kansas City 2-point favorites hosting Buffalo Bills. Philadelphia 6.5-point favorites against the Commanders. Does Washington need kind of the game? And I want to preface this by saying, I'm not saying that they need a quarterback to get hurt, because I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in terms of, does Washington need kind of the wildness that was that last time that Philadelphia and Washington played out, where it was, I believe, as I deep dive into that loss. So deep dive, 36-33, Washington beat Philadelphia. Of course, in that game, Jalen Hurts gets hurt. It was 14-0 Philadelphia, and Pickett throws that pick to Frankie Louvu at the Philadelphia 25. Washington scores, then we have game on. So, of course, Washington turned the ball over 5 times in that game, which I think if they do that in this one, if Hurts plays the whole time. I know Seawall has talked about this a lot, whether it was on the Fast Lane or on our socials. How important will it be for Washington to do what they did? Because it was a wild game against Detroit in terms of, it was a lot of big plays, it was a lot of big turnovers. Same thing with Philadelphia. It was a lot of big plays, a lot of big turnovers on both sides of the ball, both for Philadelphia and for Washington. How important would it be for Washington just to, one, it sounds mundane, win the turnover battle, but truly just kind of make the game crazy and win on the variances, if that makes sense?
I mean, they gonna have to play perfect against the Eagles. That's the only thing. I mean,
assuming Hurts plays the game. Like, if Hurts plays starts to finish, I agree with you.
Yes. Now, Hurts, don't get me wrong, ever since the playoffs, he has been a little sluggish, but either way, they still go with the same formula. Run the ball, play defense. I mean, don't get me wrong, when the snow was a big factor, because you could tell, like, their pass game wasn't that effective at all, and it was kind of hard for...
And A.J. Brown had some big. I think he had
it-
two big drops, and he had 0 coming in the seat. Like he dropped a touchdown at one point.
Yeah,
I think Jalen's passing stats would have looked better.
yeah, definitely. And that was the only thing. But I feel like, Sunday is going to be really cloudy, overcast, but it's still going to be. I think Eagles still go with the same formula, just run the ball and everything. The Commanders going to have to play perfect. That's the only thing. They're going to have to play perfect. You know they're going for 4 downs because they have not been.
That's what they've done all year.
Yeah, because they know if they go, they know because if they punt the ball, they're probably gonna be behind. They're gonna be really greedy this game. They got nothing to lose really because everything's on the line to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So looking back at maybe the good game to compare is the first game because that was when they played in Philadelphia, and Washington was up 10-3 at one point through the first 3. It was
the first 2 quarters, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was
because second half they came out.
It was 7-3 at half, 10-3, and then Philadelphia took the lead in the third quarter, right at the end of the third quarter, and then basically the game changed. Washington went for it at the Philadelphia 26 on a 4th and 2, and they didn't get it. And then that's when Philadelphia came back. Saquon Barkley scored a big touchdown. It became 19-10. Philadelphia scored again with another Saquon Barkley touchdown, and it was 26-10. And that was essentially the game because it was 4:38 left in the fourth. So that is the one thing. Saquon still hit big runs. It's just, I think he got slowed down in the second half in the second time they played because Kenny Pickett is not a run threat, at least not like what Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
And I think Hurts mobility, because they ran a lot of boots after he got hurt, makes me feel like if he can just show enough mobility where they have to key in on him.
Well, like against the Rams, everybody when his knee and everything, everybody was kind of questioning. We had the knee brace on, and they did a bootleg.
A lot of bootlegs.
And the left side, you can say, okay, he's fine now. Like you could tell, but it was still.
I think they wouldn't have ran. Granted, that bootleg on that last drive for Philadelphia before the Rams came down to try to win the game.
Yeah,
was a bad call. They should have probably ran it with Saquon.
Yeah, I don't know what they was thinking on that one.
But we're looking at the Philadelphia side. If you're Washington, can Washington win this game? Absolutely. You're playing your opponent for the third time. The problem is, in these playoffs, it's typically Jimmy and Joe's beat X's and O's. I really feel that way. I think it's why we'll pick the games. It's why I pick Kansas City to win the Super Bowl, because they have the best Jim. His name is Patrick Mahomes.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm going Bills Mafia.
Well, we'll pick that on Friday.
I know it's Friday. I know we got like a couple days
and
away.
That's why I prefaced it by saying I picked them to win at the start of the playoffs, Ty.
I know. I'm
Tyrone.
I
know, but it's funnier to call you Tyrone because of Tyrone Tracy.
What's funny, everybody never get my name right. It's like so common.
I just make the joke because
I know
there's a 1,000-yard rusher for the Giants who has your name.
That's true. You know, everybody keeps like, "Are you related?" I'm like, I'm not related to him.
You are him. Ty, you didn't know this, folks. He does Jefferson Forest Cavalier football on Friday and then flies up and runs for 1,000 yards this season for the Giants. So
that boy Superman right here.
So just saying, you didn't know that? Now you learned something today. But if you're Washington, one, you have to force something that Philadelphia hasn't done, especially in the playoffs and especially in their winning streak. You have to turn the ball. You have to force them to turn the ball over. And two, you can't do what you did last game, and that's force 5 turnovers. I think what happened in that game between Washington and Philadelphia, despite the fact they forced 5 turnovers, the reason Washington was able to stay in that game is because, and I think mainly because of the quarterback situation, Philadelphia wasn't able to take advantage of it. They scored, I believe it was 6 points on the 4 Washington turnovers with Kenny Pickett in. And I'm just assuming Kenny Pickett is not going to play in this game. And if Kenny Pickett does play in this game, I think we're going to have left hand up in the Super Bowl. I really do. Because Kenny Pickett is not good. I think Washington is playing. I think Washington is playing better than they did when they won that game against Philadelphia. Granted, I think the two defenses they played, probably not that great, especially the Detroit defense.
Full of injuries.
And once they lost their corner, it was kind of like it's the dam was going to break at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see, can Washington replicate the success they had on offense against the Philadelphia defense? Because I think the best unit in the NFL, especially remaining, is the Philadelphia defense. Because we could talk about Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia offense, and I know people are talking about the passing game for Philadelphia. Well, if you have a running back that all that matters is in the NFL is explosive plays. And that's what Washington has done really well this year, is they've generated a lot of explosive plays.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia people are not used to, because of this new age of football, of teams creating explosive plays to the run game. Well, that's what Philadelphia does because they have Saquon Barkley. And I've said this before. Saquon Barkley's special talent is Philadelphia's offensive line is really good at creating a 10-yard run. They were good with DeAndre Swift. They were good with Miles Sanders. Because those guys could get 10, 15-yard runs. Saquon Barkley takes your 10, 15-yard run and scores from 7.
Yeah, it was it was the difference between Miles and Swift.
And he did that against Washington.
Yeah.
If you're Washington, this is with the fact that Philadelphia can key in so much more on this compared to when the last time they played. And I don't think CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to get ejected this time.
Yeah.
And I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to play. Darius Slay is going to play. Jalen Carter.
Nolan
Smith is playing better than he did last time they played.
Yes.
Jalen Carter is the best football player on the field. And I feel pretty comfortable in saying that.
I'll say between them two, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, they've been a big factor in the playoffs ever since they started.
Here's the thing, and we'll get Andrew Alex tomorrow. He used to cover the Commanders, so he'll know, and he's a longtime Commanders fan. Detroit was not able to take advantage of the Sam Cosmi injury like Philadelphia is going to be able to, because what ultimately won that game for Philadelphia is Jalen Carter was getting double teamed and double teamed and double teamed and double teamed until the very last moment.
They start running stunts and he started getting open through the holes and starting getting.
Well, not even that. The Rams make one communication error and they get their right guard lined up one-on-one with Jalen Carter.
The center just turned back against Jalen Carter.
And what happened? Jalen Carter went whoop, right by him and literally just engulfed Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the sack on third down that led to the stop on fourth down, which we played on Monday. Sam Cosmi is a really good guard, and it's a big loss for Washington. You're going to tell me this backup guard is going to have to go at some point in the game. Vic Fangio is one of the best, maybe the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. He is going to take his best player, and he's going to make sure he's lined up one-on-one with him. He's going to figure it out.
It's like either with Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. So that's why I was like, you will have to. It's going to be a big factor.
Or with Milton Williams.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big factor between the three.
It's going to be can Washington do enough to stop that moment? Whether it's they realize, all right, it's going to have to happen. Can Daniels get the ball out? Because for people talking about, well, Daniels can just escape from it.
No.
Well, everyone remembers Jalen Carter picking up Matthew Stafford. If you watched it, he picked up Matthew Stafford at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess who he first did that play to? Jaden Daniels in the SEC championship game. And I know that was a few years ago, but still, that to me is the key matchup, is Jalen Carter versus, and I'm blanking on the name, who's the backup guard for Washington. But that's the matchup. That I don't say that will decide the game, but there is going to be a moment in that game, like it was against the Rams, where That guard is lined up one-on-one against Jalen Carter. And it's kind of like going back. It's like, and I'm not saying Jalen Carter is Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald is
a whole different plan
in the conversation for the greatest defensive player of all time.
Yes.
But going back to the Rams Super Bowl, and it was the moment that it was what, fourth down? It was like, and Sean McVay.
It was third down. I know you talk about it was third down in red zone. No,
this was the seal of the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was third down.
I think it was the fourth down because it was the final play of the game.
Yeah, it's between them. It's 1-2.
Essentially, Aaron Donald made the play. Like, Sean McVay's caught on air saying Aaron Donald's gonna make a play here. Like, going back, the play that changed the game was that sack on third down that forced the fourth down.
Yeah,
and Jalen Carter made the play. There's going to be a moment in this game. And again, when it gets to this time of year, you got to look at Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's. And Philadelphia has the best gym, and it's Jalen Carter. And can Washington's best gym, Jaden Daniels, be protected enough to make a big play to a Terry McLaurin, to a De'Ami Brown who's emerged in that last moment? It's going to be interesting to see. We'll pick that on Friday. All right. He's joining us on the StreamYard, so we got to go to break real quick. Joining us after this break is Bryson Gordon from newsadvance.com. Next on the morning warm-up. It is 7.
We're joined by Randy Trost from Trost Law. And within the last year, Randy, there have been new laws that have come into effect in the Commonwealth of Virginia that impact motorists. What are some of the ones people need to know about?
From a personal injury perspective, the most important law that has changed as of January 1st, 2025 is now the minimum amount of liability coverage you could have in Virginia for an automobile is $50,000 per person, $100,000 per incident. So now that's the minimum. And along with that, we are seeing insurance companies offer the option to opt out uninsured, underinsured coverage. Absolutely do not opt out of that coverage.
You mentioned not opting out and the dangers of opting out of uninsured and underinsured coverage. How much of that is tied to a high number of people driving around that are not even registered to drive?
That's exactly right. We're seeing higher instances of people driving without insurance. And what uninsured or underinsured coverage does is protect you from those type of people that have no insurance. And if they cause a problem for you or your family, whether it's an injury or a property damage problem, and they have no insurance and you do not have enough uninsured or underinsured coverage, you could be left holding the bag with additional expenses that were no fault of your own.
Crucial info to know. Randy, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And if you've been impacted by someone in an auto situation, trostlaw.com and 777-HURT. From interest rates to everyone's personal credit history and background, everybody's in a different spot. At Feller Chevrolet, they understand that. It's why Greg Walker spoke with us and shared how Feller Chevrolet can work with you.
Well, we have multiple lenders, so everybody's different in personality and in their credit equity of what they put into a vehicle. So the different lenders have different areas that they like to go after, and we know which ones to use for the different individuals to get them the best payments possible, terms that they need. As far as interest rates, everybody is saying, oh my goodness, they're getting so high. But if you look historically, we're really right in a rate area that traditionally for housing and cars is very competitive. We've just been so spoiled.
At Feller Chevrolet, they work with people from diverse credit backgrounds to get the right car for their needs. Stop by and see them, Main Street in Alta Vista, and visit fellersdirect.com.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality, build with Right Choice.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:45 on this Wednesday, January 22nd. It's one day to my mom's birthday, so we'll have to give her a shout out tomorrow. But joining us now, a man who is a baseball fan, and I would hope would agree with my rant on how dumb the Baseball Hall of Fame is. Well, I don't say dumb the Baseball Hall of Fame is because itself, Cooperstown's awesome.
You might as well say it. Don't be soft.
All my but the Baseball Writers Association who votes on it, there are dumb people in that organization.
Trey, don't be soft. Let them know.
Burn it down, man. Burn it down. They're soft. They set a bad precedent when they didn't let other people in with 100% though. So,
the Ichiro thing is dumb, first of all, but I even the fact that Barry Bonds is not going to be in the Hall of Fame, which is a big, like some people don't agree with that. But again, the mission of the Baseball Hall of Fame, it says to tell the history of the game. And if you think you can't tell the history of the game without Barry Bonds, then you don't know baseball. Frankly, you don't know your ego. There are people who are connected to steroids in the Hall of Fame. Whatever. That's not why we brought Bryson on. I just had a plug.
I could go on it though. We could go.
We could. But you, of course, cover the Liberty Flames for newsadvance.com, and someone who probably will head to a Liberty Hall of Fame is Richie McKay. See how look at that transition. Ooh, boom! I'm still sharp, even though it's early in the morning. He notched his 259th win at Liberty Saturday in a 68-60 win over New Mexico State. Before we talk about that game and looking ahead to Saturday in the unique scheduling that is Conference USA, where they have one game this week, Richie McKay on the verge of becoming the all-time winner at Liberty. What would you say is his legacy? I mean, I think he's well on his way to be the greatest coach in program history.
Yeah, obviously, you look at the list. I mean, it's obviously not a long list of coaches. It's a program that's relatively young. It's probably his legacy is the best coach in Liberty program history. Whether or not he, let's assume that they win one more game this season. I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt that they might get that. So, say they get to 260 wins, it probably pushes them over the top and officially makes them that. But you think about everything that's happened in the program, right? I've been here a relatively short time covering Liberty, but for a good majority of what has happened in the program, it's happened under Richie McKay. And so a lot of the talk that happened after last year and a lot of the talk that's happened early this year about whether he's the right man for the job, whether fans think he's the right man for the job. If you don't think he's the right man for the job, you got to have somebody else who you think will be a better choice. And in order to lead Liberty from a team perspective, from a personnel perspective, from a character perspective, you'd really be hard pressed to find a better guy that would really take this program and mesh and fit as perfectly as he has, and as really pretty much won consistently as he has. He has 2 years, right, where he hasn't won 20 games. I think over the life of his career here, I think most people would take what he's offered Liberty. And so people that get upset about maybe a quote unquote down stretch that he's had, they're 15-4 right now, and they're a few more wins away from notching 20 again, and they obviously have a chance to win the Conference USA championship game. So he wins. That's his legacy, I think.
Yeah, I think a really good comparison for him is Mike Young. And granted, Mike Young is now at Virginia Tech, but Mike Young at Wofford. Mike Young really took a Wofford program that had no NCAA tournament success. I mean, the program did start in 1995, so it was still a young program. Picked it up in 2002, won nearly 300 games, multiple NCAA tournament appearances, multiple NCAA tournament wins. And, the only job he left for was his dream job, which was Virginia Tech, because he was a Radford native. And, obviously the Virginia stuff is going to be there with Richie McKay. And I'm not here to give Richie McKay a new job. I'm just making a simple comparison of, I think Richie McKay had a Mike Young like impact now at Liberty.
Absolutely. And as somebody who went to UNC Greensboro, who saw way too much of Mike Young and Wofford in the SoCon championship games, they blocked us from going to a couple of going to a couple NCAA tournaments. Phenomenal coach, right? And you know what? Sometimes maybe when you're on that level that Liberty is and that Wofford was under Mike Young, it can, I understand, right? It can get a little bit stale when you win 20 games and you can't maybe go to the tournament every single year because you're in a really tough conference like Liberty is now, as opposed to the Atlantic Sun. Things can get stale when you don't have those NCAA tournament berths year over year. But like we mentioned, right, Liberty has what you hope in every mid-major program if you root for one, and that's an opportunity to go to the 3-day, 4-day conference tournament, whichever one you have, and to win the whole thing. Liberty has a chance to do that this year, and you kind of hope that the guys can stay healthy, and you hope that they're meshing at the right time. And if they go into Huntsville and they win, you feel a lot better about Richie McKay, right? So he's ultimately the season's kind of going to be judged on those 3 days. But for now, and overall for the length of his career in Lynchburg, it's been a success, and that's a good comparison.
Looking at Liberty, they're 3-3 in conference play, coming off that win against New Mexico State. The good news is they are 2-1 against the top three teams in the conference. In Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State, they defeated, obviously, the very, very close loss to UTEP. But going back to this game, how important was it to just beat New Mexico State after a game against UTEP where, again, it's another one that really just got away from them late?
Yeah, it's really good going into this week in this little bit of a stretch that they have coming up to feel confident about who you are, right? Liberty's losses in conference play, you mentioned it, are against some of the better teams in conference. Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, they've lost a few more times than you'd think, but they still have the most talent in the league, you would assume. And UTEP, who's obviously been at the top of the conference, and then you beat the team who thumped UTEP by 30 almost in New Mexico State. So you really finished that stretch where people were kind of worried about where the season was going to go. You finished it off with a win, probably the best win in conference play that you have over New Mexico State. That's a good feeling. And now you can not quite rest because there is no rest in Conference USA when you're going on the road. But FIU is about the closest thing that the teams in league play have to a quote unquote easy game in league play. And so you feel comfortable about that this week. And it's a 1-game week. And then you have Kennesaw and Jacksonville State on the other side. Two teams who maybe are a little bit of a step down from that Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech range. Kennesaw State has a guy who's probably going to win Freshman of the Year. He's won Freshman of the Week every single week this season. And that's Adrian Woolley. So keep an eye out for him. When Liberty plays them, it's probably going to be one of the better players. He's going to be a Conference USA all-conference player. But whenever Liberty got through that Louisiana Tech and that New Mexico State in the games against those really top-tier opponents, once again, it showed you that they can win. Now you got to take care of these games here against Kennesaw and FIU and Jacksonville State, who you feel like are going to be the easy games, and you got to really pile those up, because if you do, you're sitting in a good spot, right? If Liberty can rattle off these 3 wins, they're sitting at 6-3 in conference play. Then you're suddenly feeling really good about their season.
Yeah, the key getting that top 2 seed in conference play, very important for the Liberty Flames. Yeah, their schedule is unique this week as they only have 1 game because they're playing their quote-unquote travel partner in FIU, meaning if you notice, FIU plays the same 2 opponents every week as Liberty, just flip-flopped. And when you play your travel partner, which I'm assuming will change when Delaware comes into the league for Liberty, just based off of geography, but FIU being their travel partner, you only get 1 game that week. So how important was it to not have the 2 games, and they get kind of this extended rest after playing maybe, 2 of the top teams in the conference, even though they were at home in UTEP and New Mexico State, which were real grinders of games.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about the size of the team, not just the physical size, but the numbers that they have, right? They don't play a lot. Gabriel McKay has really gotten in here in the last couple games and started to play a little bit closer to 10 to 12 minutes. That's something that we could probably expect down the road. Coaches have liked, obviously, he's coach's son, but coaches have liked how he's played so far this year. And even his teammates have mentioned how much of a spark he's provided off the bench, at least defensively. So he's going to be somebody who's going to keep getting minutes. Once you look at their bench minutes, right? You go on KenPom, you can find any number you want to on KenPom, but they're 360th in Division One in minutes from bench players, and an overwhelming majority of that comes from Talon Peter, who plays almost 25, 30 minutes a game in conference play. And so when you think about stockpiling those, right? That second game of the week, whenever you're playing 2 games in 48 hours, really plays against Liberty. And so the advantage to have the first not only just 1 game this week, but to have a little bit of a time off to get to rest. Some guys are always battling nagging injuries this time of year. It's going to be key, especially you mentioned for the home stretch. Because after this little 3-game spurt, then it turns back around. It's kind of like a round robin schedule. The Conference USA is, and so you turn back around and you start facing some of these teams again, who you already faced this year, right? The Westerns, the Middle Tennessees, the Louisiana Tech again. They're coming to Lynchburg, so you really have a tough stretch coming up with a lot of those teams that you're competing for. That you mentioned top 2 seed in conference play, so they really have to take advantage of these 3 coming up.
Looking at the Liberty women, they're 12-5 on the year. They're at the top of Conference USA because they've played one extra game to the only team they have lost to, which is Middle Tennessee in the conference. But they've pulled off a nice 4-game winning streak after that loss to Middle Tennessee. Is it really just shaping up to be Liberty and Middle Tennessee, who has been a really good women's basketball program in particular in Conference USA?
It feels like it. I mean, and that's something that's going to be exciting when you get down to Alabama, right? Because Liberty obviously has a really talented team. Bella Smuda at center is one of the best players in the league. Everybody, if you pay attention to women's college basketball, knows Middle Tennessee, but they lost this year already, right? They lost to Western Kentucky, so maybe that opens the door for Western also. Certainly, you feel like it opens the door for Liberty, who you would think on paper has the second most talent in Conference USA, right behind Middle Tennessee. And it's good for, obviously, it's good for Liberty to see other people beat them, because maybe Liberty can continue doing their thing and winning out in the regular season, and maybe even win out in the regular season, maybe just lose one more time to Middle Tennessee, and maybe they stumble along the way, and it ends up with them being, in a share for the Conference USA championship. Once again, obviously for them, it's going to come down to their matchup against Middle Tennessee. If they do avoid them, it's going to come down to the championship. If they don't, it might come down to a semifinal or something. That's a team that really put it on them in the regular season. I know it was on the road, the first matchup, but it was almost a 30-point loss. So obviously, tightening that up whenever they come to Lynchburg and putting together a better game might give you a little bit more confidence going into the conference tournament. I think, the Middle Tennessee game this year is the next to last game for the women's team. And so having that and kind of using that as a springboard going into the Conference USA tournament would be a lot of confidence.
Looking on the football side, we're about to gear up for spring practice, which feels weird because it's February. It will be in February, and they call it spring practice. It's not in spring, but this is what Jamie Chadwell wants to do. Anything you're looking for as we're nearing that? I believe it's like 2 weeks away off the top of my head?
Yeah, typically it's in mid-February, so we're coming up on it. It's going to feel weird. It's like, 15, 20 degrees outside today, and we're talking
nice
about
spring
spring football.
day.
Yeah, some spring football. But I think you have to. Obviously, everybody wants to talk about quarterback, right? So let's not talk about quarterback. We're going to have, 7 months until the first game of the year to talk about quarterback. I think that wide receiver is going to be something that's going to be crucial for Liberty this year. You look at some of the guys that they've added in the portal that they feel like are going to be big helps with that, Casey Kane and Jamari Person. They have to have more production at wide receiver this year to do anything, right? You mentioned the running game. It is what it is. It's been the top 5 national rushing attack for 2 years in a row under Jamie Chadwell in Lynchburg. You lose Quentin Cooley, you lose Caden Salter. That's a big hurt. But not having a downfield threat in the receiving game was really what hampered them this season in a lot of people's eyes, and in my eyes personally. Caden Salter took a step back. I think a lot of that can be attributed to some of the lack of play at receiver. And so that's going to be the position that I want to see. Has Liberty, have they addressed what they needed to? Do they feel like they have a couple guys who maybe can open up the top of open up downfield and maybe give this Merdinger, or whether it's Vasco, maybe give them some deep shot threats, because that was something they didn't have last year, and I think it really hurt the offense, especially in some of these games where it felt like some teams are starting to lean on their run game and in their short game.
At Bryson Gordon on X, he'll join us basically every Wednesday going forward. So we have scheduled this time slot for him. So we appreciate your time, man. We'll have some more fun as time goes on.
Let's do it. Only thing I remember from last week is your Commanders pick. I hope they're better down the road.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Now, yeah, it turned out, you know what? Just go Birds. All right, that will do it for today on the Morning Warm Up. Thanks so much, Bryson, for joining us. We appreciate you spending some time on this Wednesday morning.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys having me on.
So, yeah, that will do it for this episode of the Morning Warm Up. Ty, hope you have a good day, the rest of your day today. Hope everyone else does. And remember, baseball writers are stupid. Just not all of them. I want to preface this, like the Buster Olneys of the world, who I just retweeted. He's calling out they need more transparency. Like those people, not all of them. I think the actual good ones, like the Tom Verducci's, the Ken Rosenthal's, those the good ones that will actually, use common sense. So just that is your biggest takeaway from today. And also, Rich McKay, probably the greatest coach in Liberty history, as Bryson laid out. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with Andrew Alex. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening to the Morning Warm-Up on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM WVGM Lynchburg.
This is
Adios.
Sports Betting Network.